Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Player X here with the Semi Limited Podcast. Great to have you guys all aboard with me today. Thank you, everyone, for listening and returning back for another great episode. Last year, we were the top podcast for 40 of the viewers out there for 2023, and we can't thank you guys enough for such a great launch year, and as well as kicking off 2024 very, very strong. So, thank you guys for that. I appreciate all the support and love that you guys have been sharing towards us. Before we start today's episode, which will be jam packed with very, very exclusive YCS details from people who are actually there, with our waiting guests in the background, lurking, creeping, waiting to get to the microphone. What we have expecting heading into the YCS for them. And then, as of the popular People's Choice segment that we'll probably get into a little bit later on this segment, but let's get into these sponsors first. Please go to Linktree link down in the description below. Click all of our social sites and follow them. You can be sure to click the tab. It'll bring up our Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, yada yada, all of it, Instagram. Be sure to go click and follow and subscribe, follow the ding notifications, whatever it is on all of those sites. We have successfully launched 7 giveaways last year, and our goal is to double that this year. And we are already off to a great start with having our first one for 2024 already upon us by hitting 100 Discord members. So if you guys are already Discord members, you guys can go to that general chat and click the giveaway link, which will give you the access to entering for it. All you have to do is be a Discord member, live within the United States or Canada, and comment in the general chat what your favorite episode of the podcast was last year, or the ones that we've dropped this year. And then once you click that and enter, you will be entered in to win one free box of Phantom Nightmare. So that's right, one lucky winner will be winning a box of Phantom Nightmare absolutely free, as long as you live within the US or Canada. If you live outside of it, you're just paying for your own shipping, because fuck international shipping. I'm not doing that shit again. Another giveaway will occur when we hit 50 followers on TikTok, 100 followers on Twitter or X, and then 200 followers on Instagram or YouTube, which we're close there on YouTube. I think we're like 180 or something like that. Speaking of the giveaway, I want to shout out the guys who sponsor us as well. So shout outs to Unplugged Gaming in Manlius, New York, for sponsoring the podcast, giving us things like this Phantom Nightmare box to give to you guys. Be sure to join their Discord server as well in the description box below to be a part of their TCG communities, whether it be Magic, Lorcana, maybe Disney, that new shit, the One Piece, Digimon, whatever it is. Be sure to go down there. They have a TCG community for it. You can socialize, maybe get some trades going on. And if you guys wind up popping up in store, be sure to mention that the boys over at the Semi Limited Podcast sent you, and they'll be sure to hook you up. So shout outs to Joe and all the staff over there. And our last plug-in for tonight will be to make sure you guys catch Brad, aka Mr. Perfect, live streaming on Twitch every Saturday night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is the East Coast of the United States for those who are outside of it. You can catch his link to his Twitch in our link tree below. So you can click on that. Be sure to follow it. It's right above ours. And he's usually on there every Saturday doing deck theories, testing, maybe some crafting, yada, yada. But we have a big OTS championship that's coming up this weekend on Saturday. So he will be either coming back from that and streaming what happened and maybe doing some testing from that, or just coming back from that and getting immediately into it as we practice for the regional that's going to be going on later on this month. So you never know with him. He's very, very sporadic. So be sure to go there and check him out. And if you interact with him in chat, be sure to bring up that you want to be mentioned on the Friday night wrap up, where we go ahead and talk about what happened on stream, do little shorts and clips and whatnot, and put those out as well. With all that being said, and now all of it out of the way, I'd just like to introduce to you guys our special guest for today, a returning podcast guest, as well as his friend from last year, making his first appearance in 2024. I would like you guys to make some noise for the boy Slim Yugioh and his best friend, and not only decorated Yu-Gi-Oh presence, but influencer as well. Most of you guys know him as the name Asian Persuasion. What's going on, gentlemen?
Yo, what's good? Asian Persuasion here. What's happening, man?
What's going on, you guys? Slim here, back with my boy Player X. You already know, Semi-Limited Podcast. We appreciate you guys. And just a little quick thing, you guys are the first and only to ever give my brother Asian Persuasion on anything.
Because I'm old.
Yeah, talking time we had some little back and forth talking about it, and I was actually a little giddy for it, just because I go out there and I see. I mean, if he's not doing deck profiles for his own channel, it's really just for your channel as well, because you guys always do your profiles usually side by side. So when I, was able to secure this, I was like, yo, I think we're gonna be making history here. I think this is the first time people can recall it.
Yeah, this is definitely the first time. I'm technology ill. I'm an old man.
Nah, no worries about that. I'm the same way, man. We're all that's what Team Yu-Gi-Oh! Grandpas is for, right?
Yeah, that's why my back was
Exactly.
broken. Now it's forever etched in Yu-Gi-Oh history.
Big facts, big facts. Before we start, are there any shout outs or any plugins that you guys want to give out for yourselves or others while you guys are here and have the platform to do so?
I mean, obviously, shout out to my brother Slim over here, bringing me to your guys' podcast. And then, obviously, our team, First or Last Gaming. We're sponsored by our boy Anthony Vang. He probably didn't want to sponsor us last event, but we're on his team. We're playing Cancer. But, yeah, those are the main.
Yep. And same, just to echo it, of course, shout out to my brother. He's actually here for my bachelor party, so that's what that's why we were able to get this together and link it all up for you guys. So, of course, shout out to him. Of course, shout out to Anthony, all first to last. You guys are amazing. And just, shout out to you, Player X, for having us on and, just taking the time and working with us to have this done, because I know we talked about this a little while back and we were able to, get it all together to make it happen. So, appreciate you as well.
Absolutely. I appreciate all that love. And also, congratulations to you guys. I know the wedding is coming up soon. So, obviously, he's there for the bachelor party. So, obviously, the hitch is getting tied soon. So, congratulations there again. Once,
Oh, yeah.
I appreciate all the love you guys
been showing. Shout out to my fiance. Yeah, shout out to my fiance, Tiffany.
Yeah, she'll get mad if you don't shout her out and she comes back and hears this, But getting into today's episode, guys, I definitely want to get into some of the notable highlights from the 3v3 YCS as you guys were in that happened over the weekend from the 24th to the 25th, which was, in my personal opinion, I think one of the greater event competition-wise that we've had thus far this year. And I know it's only short into the season or whatnot, but just the amount of high energy in there, the amount of crazy names, the amount of insane diversity in the decks as far as in Swiss rounds and whatnot, coming down to even you guys playing some wonky little decks there for a little bit. Was there anything that was notable for you guys personally, or that really stood out as far as maybe the scenery in Las Vegas, which is a beautiful place, the traveling, sleeping accommodations? I know sometimes in the hotel room is where most of the funny stuff happens, but maybe the rounds you played or anything, or any one you might have played, maybe, or anything like that.
Yeah, well, first of all, shout out to the couch. That's Michael's couch. That's where I live. I've been already here since last Tuesday before the YCS, so that's where I've been. Yeah, so the event was really cool. The scenery, Michael's apartment, he lives by the strip, so it's literally all in Las Vegas. So that's the cool part about the scenery part. I guess the good memories. Well, we came in with 2 out of the 3 players. So we were actually looking for a third all Friday.
Get out of here,
So
really?
that's the real notable highlight, I'd say, from the YCS. We actually didn't have a third because we had a little family emergency with our boy Qua. And then obviously before Qua we would have had someone else, but I won't say their name, but it starts with a J. Ames. James fails me. He didn't come. We didn't have a third. But we did get a third technically before when we registered the Dueling Grandpas. But then he had the emergency, so then we had to scramble when we got here in Vegas.
So did you guys put out an APB, or was it
Thursday night we put a little Facebook post, and then a couple of our friends seen it. They came up to us, they're asking if we're still needing it, and we're like, yes. We don't have no money.
Yes, please help. Are you the man? Are you the man?
Yeah, I was like, we just need someone it's hard to find someone that wants to be your friend and a teammate, because we're playing something absolutely off the wall.
You're playing some Cancer
firewall,
shit
it ain't a fire deck. So it's kind of hard to get people to be like, well, you guys are just gonna lose. I'm like, I don't know. I'm kind of nice with the rope. Join the team or leave the team. Get out of the face, But yeah, we found the third. Our boy Oscar came in clutch, and that was a big notable highlight, I'd say, for Friday.
Yeah, talking about walking on the edge, right?
Yeah, man, it was stressful, but seeing our boy Oscar and he was playing Shifter, I was like, oh, he's our man.
Oh, you're on Shifter too? Cool, degeneracy. Hop on board, buddy.
Yugioh deck. It was perfect. It all lined out, so it was excellent.
And how about you, Slim?
Oh yeah, no, definitely. Obviously the scenery, I mean, I live here, so it's, it's all the same, but of course having my brother here early was always good, and we just, it was a little stressful, just knowing we didn't have a third, we went in and it was just finding kind of the right person, because there's a lot of details that go into having like a third term teammate. Like, you don't want to team with, we don't want to use the term rando, but we don't want someone who doesn't really vibe with us. Like, if we don't have the same vibe, like that's where a lot of teams can fail, is they don't really work together as like a unit. But Oscar goes back with us like years ago. Like, Oscar's been one of our homies for years, and it just happened that he happened to be at the event, and like Johnny said, he was playing Yubel, which I thought was a really cool deck. And of course, when he said he's playing Shifter, I mean, everything just kind of lined up, because that was kind of the point. And also, we kind of felt like Yubel was it's in such a unique position. I mean, I think now it's more on the radar, but for the time being, not enough people really knew how
no
the
one
deck
knew what the hell it
functioned.
was. Yeah.
Exactly. And that was just it. And I mean, I think it just lined up perfectly, and we just kind of looked at Oscar. It was like, "You want to team with us?" He was down. We worked together to pull all the cards together that we needed, and I mean, we got it done. It was it did take all day. That's one thing. It did definitely take all day. They opened the venue late, and we were there pretty long, but in the end, it worked out. So it was
When they say
definitely
they
good.
opened the venue late, was it like you guys couldn't have access to the main like hall, or like the doors for
Oh
the venue
yeah,
literally were not
funny
open?
story about that.
Yeah,
My
I'll
Because
God.
let
I heard
Johnny
about
handle
it
that
too.
one.
So on FAQ, they say they're open from 12 to 6 for showing up in person registration. Well, me and Michael were like, well, the day before, we're like, we'll get there early, and then we don't, because we always say that. And then we came like party at like 12:30, and there was just a massive crowd outside the door. I'm like, oh, they gotta open anytime soon. They got to. About like what 2-3 hours went by. It was like 3 o'clock or something. I don't even remember what time it was, but that's eventually when they opened the doors, because they were not ready. They were not like, they weren't even set up like inside from what the judges told us. Like, they didn't
That's
have anything.
crazy.
Like, literally, like they had to set everything up before we all walked in there like crazy madmen, because it was horrible. It looked, everyone was bum rushing towards everywhere because they didn't know where to go, and then
Yeah,
lines
exactly.
started forming. Well, luckily we were just smart and just cut everybody and just ran to the house. 'Cause
Just
I don't know
blend
why
in with
people
the
were
crowd.
stomping. Hey man, nobody's in the actual line. You keep going, man, until you can't go no more. So
I'll
yeah,
keep going
that was
until they
probably
tell
the
me to
worst part
stop.
of Friday, the not being ready for thousands of players, and we're just standing there in a little lobby. It was awkward, but that's how we found Oscar. So shout out to that. So it kind of worked out.
Yeah, see, look,
No,
one thing leads to
exactly.
another. One door closes to another to open.
Yep.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it was a little wild. I mean, they just were not really prepared. But I mean, like Johnny said, in the end, it did work out. So it really just was a matter of patience. And of course, I don't really think a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh players are patient. So
No.
I'm sure it annoyed a lot of people. I mean, most people were annoyed by it. But I mean, you got to do what you got to do if you want to play. So.
Oh, no, absolutely, 100%. You got to pay to play, and that's it. Sometimes it just comes with the cost. I always think that when there's like high edge or like adrenaline running, like last second drama or something like that, it always makes for a good event, because like you're fighting from behind everyone else from the get go, and that makes for the best like underdog story. And I think that everyone loves an underdog story out here.
Definitely.
So, when you guys were planning to head to the YCS, did you guys already like have your deck list ready to go? Did you guys choose on the way? Were you guys waiting for like some details as to like some hidden goo? Because I don't know if you guys caught it. Some players like Pack were like putting up videos and content, and then like quote unquote mysteriously taking down said content and replacing it with different content because they didn't want to release too much goo or anything like that. So did you guys have a game plan going in? I know that it was unfortunate you guys lost your third player, but was that
Yeah.
something that was easily replaceable? Like, go ahead and give us put us into your minds for that event.
So I guess let's see. Losing the third, that was definitely the hard part. But once we got Oscars, everything was easy after that. But boy, oh boy, what was it? Our deck. Our deck. It was created from my horrible tactics of playing on Master Duel. Getting smashed by this deck called Anti-Meta Stone on Master Duel, and I was like, what did I just lose to? And I just started playing that deck on Master Duel, and I kind of just told Michael, I'm like, hey, low key, if everyone's playing Fire King, Snake Eye, we're gonna win. And honestly, we had really good matchup versus all the Snake Eye decks with a stun variant from Master Duel converted to the TCG. Just obviously had to change some stuff because you can play like on Master Duel, you have way less consistency cards. So, but you have like things like Maxi. But in TCG, obviously we don't have Maxi or any of that. But we have 3 Shifter, like 3 Duality, You can play 3 Pross. You can play all the like consistent cards that the Master Duel didn't let you have it. But the playtesting I had with that I played at locals a couple weeks, and I told Michael about what cards I was liking, and somehow we came up to the monstrosity that you just saw that I posted yesterday, or actually today. It was today.
Oh yeah, no, we saw it. I definitely was giving it a peep because we have I think every locals has that one guy who's playing like anti-meta or like super crazy stun. Whether it be just like a pile thrown together like how you were playing, or maybe it's like a runic stun, or like, you know, I'm gonna deck you out type deal. Like everyone's always got some sort of like wacky way of trying to get a game or cheese wins. But you know,
Exactly.
this one seems like at least you were the like exact definition of the I would have taken my Master Duel deck and playing it in TCG.
That sounds just like me. Also, shout
All
outs to
those
all
memes
my
you see are
locals
you.
testing partners. Boy, oh boy, I felt bad for them, but they kicked my butt and taught me cards, and they had to deal with me normal summoning Fossil Dyna, and yeah, it all worked out. My testing was good.
I can understand that. That's crazy though. Imagine them just having to be like, well, I guess I have to sit here in front of Johnny and play this deck,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah,
Yes,
and they
yes, you
didn't need to
do.
do or anything. They didn't complain one bit. When you get stunned, you start complaining, but they never complain when I runic stunned them, when I mystic mine them, and now when I anti-meta stunned them. So shout outs to all my locals in Wichita.
Yeah, your logo is just mad complacent, you know?
Yeah, man. I don't know. I don't know if I could have done that, but they did it for me, so I appreciate them.
And then what about for you, Slim? Is there did you know exactly what you were planning when you guys went in there? Like,
So basically, like the way it started, so like Johnny said, he played against it on Master Duel. He sent me like, you know, the list, you know, like the Master Duel list, and of course I looked at some of the cards, and I mean I remember some of them, of course, because some of them are like date back to like, my God, like 10 plus years ago. I think you could play Pachycephalo and Jowgen and all those cards, and then there was the one spell card that I had no idea what it was, and then come to find out it actually does exist in the TCG. And that was the decisive battle of Golganda. Yeah,
Everyone
Golganda.
read that.
Golgondola.
Yeah,
The
it
card
was.
is
Yeah,
crazy.
it was like literally probably the best card in the deck, and like realizing what it did, and then of course, checking with judges on like certain rulings and stuff because of how like insane the card actually ended up being. It was just really like, okay, instead of playing Runic Stun, because obviously with the floodgates getting hit, the deck obviously took a big, you really just went down. You can't really play it. Like, it's very hard to get like real wins out of it. Like, the only way to really play Runic now is you have to make it into like a part of a combo deck. To play it with the stun version, there's just not enough floodgates to make it work. So basically, the theory was like turn the back row floodgates into front row floodgates, and basically, if you're playing all fire and we're summoning Dino or we're summoning water statue that says you can only special summon water monsters, you're not getting anywhere really against the deck. And then like certain cards in it will it'll make the snowball effect happen really quick, like Time Tearing Morganite, just really like drawing 2 cards every turn. And then one thing like we talked about in the profile was that Morganite's second effect is something that normally doesn't come up for really any deck, but for this deck it came up in waves.
Normal summoning 2 times. Whew.
Yeah, and that's where the theory Johnny had that was really good was, you could, resolve Morganite, normal summon Dyna, second summon be a Torrent statue or a Jowgen or a second Dyna, then you don't lose to just one Imperm, because Imperm was obviously one card that we of course knew that was going to be something that could hinder the strategy, but being able to have multiple flood monsters up, and having protection could actually keep you alive and in the game longer. And just like the more like you mess with it, like playing it on Master Duel, playing it on the the simulators, just really seeing, because it is a very simple deck to play. It doesn't take like too much. Normal summoning is very simple. There's just certain intricacies you have to know, like whether how you protect, basically how you protect the castle is the best way to really say how the deck is played. It's just knowing how to use your protection properly and at the right times. And I mean, if you open Shifter, I mean, obviously it can get the turn back to you, because going second was something that obviously a stun deck can struggle with, but we supplemented it with cards that basically allowed us to do that, which is something that is a lot harder to do for most decks. Like usually going second, you have hand traps. Well, this deck has the best hand trap. Then if we don't have the hand trap, we have other cards to try to play into it. So,
and definitely like the snowball effect, like you said, like playing something where a lot of these Fire King or even Snake Eyes decks are very much mid range to slightly aggro. So if you can slow the game down to a pace where you're now picking apart, all right, now now your one imperm has to deal with 2 floodgate monsters, not just one, because you can normal twice. Now I'm drawing 2 cards, so my top decks are going to be crazier than yours. You get to a point where, all right, cool, if you can get the game to go long enough, that's going to slip into your favor regardless. So I thought it was interesting. We didn't get a chance to see you guys like actually game on the feature match that we'll talk about in a minute, just because your boy Oscar was in the slot for it. But it was still interesting to see that you guys definitely came there with the whole embodiment of grandpas, I would say, down from the age down to the card selection, even the way you guys were probably playing, probably made it like you probably teased that somewhere in there. I can guarantee it.
Oh, it happens sometime. Yeah, for sure.
Was this a deck that you guys both were like comfortable with, or like kind of like how when Josh Schmidt won that YCS, he was just comfortable with that Bestial Runic thing, or is this something that was a meta call, or did you guys actually have to like learn lines and like learn these decks to make sure that you had everything in order?
Get this deck to a 3-year-old and they'll figure it out. It's pretty
well, I know there's a simplicity, or at least I would say a grace in the order in which you have to flip your shit. Like, you can't preemptively flip skill drain before the cosmic and, all that shit before the back row removal, shave your strikes for monsters that activate on field and not in hand, yada, yada, shit like that. So I know there's certain intricacies for it, but I just didn't know if it's something you guys are comfortable with, like monkey flipping, or if you would rather be in a combo-centric deck, or you guys just chose it because you guys wanted to play the same thing.
No, I just knew that Snake Eyes cannot beat my deck. Like, that it just couldn't. If I go first or second, even if I lost a die roll, I was losing die rolls on purpose playtesting, and I still
100%.
at least 90% of those games. It was actually crazy how my win percentage was going against my local people. That I was like, hey man, just go first, do your normal combo. I'm gonna see what I can do, and it had a really good win rate. It just, even if I lost a die roll, which was the most important part, because me and Slim do not win die rolls apparently. I wanted to be able to have a way to play going first or second. I literally, when I topped, I probably won 3 die rolls out of 11 rounds. That's pretty awful. So it's really hard to gauge whether or not you can't make your. I made my deck to where I can win going first or second, which looks weird in the deck building theory. But if you look at the cards, are just so consistently with what they're supposed to do. Like shifter turns off the turn, or if I don't draw shifter, evenly like simplifies the game board to where I can play Yu-Gi-Oh still. So it was just all like these intricate cards, and those cards, there's no like better cards in those cards going second. So being in my main throws people off like real bad. Like shifter and evenly, some guy told me. I was like, yeah.
This guy shifter evenly me, he nibbed.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah, he was like, that's crazy. I was like, yeah, I'm normal.
And I got jogging. What?
Yeah, normal summon a floodgate monster. The game plan's real simple with the deck, so it's good. You can't. The thing I have to say about the deck is, it's easy to pilot and know how to win, but it's also easy to lose the game, because if you misplay once, it could change the whole duel, because you're playing a really simple deck compared to the best deck, which does like 12,000 things. Our deck does one thing, and you cannot misplay. So it's important. You have to get your test reps in to get like the timing down to when you need to flip cards, like punishment or something, or when you feel not threatened at all. That's the most important thing I'd say about the deck, is just getting the reps in and knowing when to use cards. And once you get that down, you'll be stunning people into an oblivion.
You could be just like me, Grandpapa.
Yeah, you're gonna be like me, just an old man on stream, just wrecking people with my back hurting on stream.
All right. Well, speaking of on the feature match, like, because you guys definitely, I'm now hearing that you guys had 2 feature matches. One was a written one, and now the second one being the one that we watched. That must have been like heart pumping for you guys. The adrenaline must be high. High pressure, high intense situations. Did you guys like the experience? Was this something new for you guys? Have you never been in that kind of high intensity situation before? Was it something you're familiar with and all too at ease with?
Yeah, definitely. I'm used to being up there. I have a bad record on feature matches. I usually lose when I'm streamed, but it's kind of funny because I actually won on stream and they weren't even looking at me. So this is actually the first time I won on stream, but in reality I still lost. So I still have a losing record on stream, but I do like playing up there. It's really cool playing against like actual known people that have actual credentials in the game. I played against Gabriel Nets. Shout out to that guy. He was hella cool. Normally whenever you get fossil banded, then you're not happy guy, but that guy kept his composure. His team was crazy. I think the only thing that was new was for Michael, and I'm just gonna get over Michael.
Yeah, no, it was actually yeah, it was my first time on the big stage, and it was cool though. Like it was really cool to actually be up there, and just also like Johnny said, the caliber of players we played against. I had to play against Paulo, three-time YCS champion, UDS champion, and shout out to him. He was just, he was a class act. Like very, very nice to talk to. Like if you actually see us, you don't see us playing on the stream because they focused on Oscar, but if you actually rewatch the stream, you'll see, we're just kind of chopping it up and just vibing, and that's really what's just so cool at the end of the day is just being able to talk, just like it's any old day with someone. And I mean, it was just really cool. And yeah, it was a little nerve-wracking knowing I'm going up against someone with such high credentials, but at the same time, I can keep my cool in the scenarios. I just obviously I wish my hand was better in game 3 because it came down to game 3 and just I didn't have a lot of good follow up, unfortunately. But it was still just a really nice experience, and I'd definitely do it again.
Yeah. Also, shout out to Oscar who got us the feature matches. So our boy Oscar knows almost all the announcers like Billy and all of them, and he got us the first written feature round 3 where he's actually featured and me and Michael are on the side. But they actually say what we're playing in the feature. Shout out to Jason Grabner Meyer. He wrote down on the feature match who we are. Okay. Like we're Yugitubers and we're playing our anti-meta stun strategy. So yeah, that was pretty dope. Shout out to Oscar.
So was it for the fact that they saw you on the written? They were like, all right, these guys are actually doing well and they're on anti-meta. Let's put them up on the big screen.
That's exactly what happened. We went to our VIP table round, and then that's when the judges walked up to us and they saw us doing it. Like, hey, you guys are actually in line for a feature, and we're like, yep, we're XO1. We're doing pretty good.
Yeah, shutting them the fuck down. They can't activate their $1,000 deck.
Yep, for real. That $1,000 deck was losing to me and Michael's $100
basically. Yeah.
Right though. Were there any like crazy tech cards or strategies that you guys may have like gone against or saw that stood out to you guys throughout the tournament? I mean, I know people were playing cards at least on the feature matches like Typhoon, which I thought was a crazy little tech card to pop for Fire King Island on turn 0, so that way you can get some sort of advantage after they've already played. I saw things like people still playing even Typhon, the extra deck monster that was seen by Peck, who tried to swing over someone with game. Even down to cards like Obedience of the Lullaby, being able to snipe a card from your opponent's deck and either add it to your hand or special it to your field. I think it's crazy when we start getting into these mirror matches and people are anticipating what decks are going to be played and what's going to be inside of them. Well, was there anything crazy that you think that you guys saw what was different from the rest?
Yeah, so shout outs to a tier 0 format of Snake Eyes and Fire King because Lullaby and Crossout did nothing versus me. You can call Ash Blossom, which is what happened once, and I looked, I was like, I ain't got that card, bro.
I ain't got that shit. You lucky.
Yeah, and he was like, damn, 2K -1. I'm like, yeah, buddy. So shout out to Crossout Designator being completely dead against me and Michael's deck. I actually like it being tier 0 because it makes it to where I can innovate my deck to be so specifically meant to beat that tier 0 deck, and those tech cards that they main deck in their tier 0 deck for the mirror match does 0 things to me. It literally, they use Crossout to deck then so they don't draw a bad card like Triple Tactics Talent. Like that's all they can use it for.
I remember some people using Crossouts to like hit like a name so that way they can oak bring it back just to use the Crossout so it has some sort of like some sort of utility.
But yeah, like honestly, I like it like in this kind of format. So it just made me and Michael's deck even better because those people that are just ready for the mirror weren't ready for our deck per se. Like the only generic card that hits me and Michael's deck is Impermanence, and then Ash could hurt at a random time. It just depends, but usually when you activate Duality, they don't Ash that. That just seems awful. And then they see you get a Flood Monster, and they wish they Ashed it. It's kind of funny.
They did. Yeah.
It just gets worse and worse for them. It's like I don't Ash Duality. I want to know what they're playing, and then you find out real quick that you should have.
You find out real fast. Fuck around and find out.
Yeah. Oh, they found out quick. They're like, dang, that was bad. Oh, so now after that game one, they just ask you right away. It's so funny. They just ask Duality or Pros right away, so you don't get anything.
Was there anything crazy you guys played against? You guys think that you? Well, I should ask this to Asian first. Is there anything crazy you think you played against, or was it all just strictly Fire Kings for the most part? Because you were in the B slot, right?
Yeah, I was in B slot, so I was trying to hopefully get all meta and then hopefully their best player, and then Yeah, I think the round one was probably the most interesting for me, Michael and Oscar, because we all went against the same deck and we had no idea what that deck did. It was Voiceless Voice, but it was different because it played Drytron. All three of them were playing Drytron in it too. So
Drytron
we
voice.
had no
Okay.
idea what we're supposed to do. We were reading all the cards on the fly. Luckily, cool story. We were supposed to have a cool event moment, and it was supposed to be all of us losing the die roll and all getting D-shifter on our opponents. Well, I can tell you Oscar did it. And then I can tell you I did it. And I can tell you Michael did not activate shifter. And I was like, this was our moment, Michael. You couldn't shifter when you lost the die roll.
That was it,
So
dog.
yeah, so luckily we still won that one because I guess Drytron loses the Floodgate monster. That's kind of weird. Um, but other than that, yeah, that was probably the weirdest matchup, that Drytron Voiceless combination hybrid deck.
And how about you, Slim?
Yeah, no, kind of like with like backing up what Johnny said. Like, yeah, like a lot of cards were like dead against us. I would say the most I don't even know if I'd call it innovative, but I want to shout out Team Ghost, who we played in round 7, BB, Anthony King, and our boy Leo. Just because I played against Anthony and Johnny played against BB, and I believe all three of them were main decking Cosmic.
Oh my god, bro!
Because when I lost, he cosmic the decisive battle as he went to battle, and I was like shocked. I was like, it's game 1, and they already got main deck cosmic, so it was actually pretty crazy. I think that was a really good call because obviously its interaction with Island is pretty crazy, especially if they don't account for it and then they just lose their whole board. But just having Cosmic in general, I think, was a interesting call on their end. So that was probably the most innovative thing, even though it's not super innovative, I guess, because it is a meta card. But having it in the main deck, I think, was pretty interesting. And then, the round 1, the Drytron Voiceless Voice was like a little weird because, I saw Drytron cards, I saw Voiceless Voice cards, and I was like, I guess I didn't fully see what the synergy was with it, but I mean they were shooting out the just it gave you just like more ritual fodder, I guess. So it was definitely interesting.
So ending on like that ultimate perfection like thing, or
honestly,
more towards the
I saw
voiceless.
the 4,000 Drytron.
Yeah,
guy.
it was just Mediotis or whatever its name is,
Okay,
the
Mediotis,
4,000
yeah.
guy. Yeah, I mean obviously with Voiceless Voice they're trying to end on the Skull Knight or whatever it was called, but
Yep.
yeah, it
Skull
was
Guardian.
weird. Yeah, Skull Guardian. They were like they were just doing Drytron things and then just summoning the Drytron ritual guy and then some of the stuff. So it was interesting. I mean, all the other Voiceless Voice we played were pure Voiceless Voice, so it was just interesting that round 1 started off like that. But yeah, everything else was pretty much meta. That we played against a bunch of fire, and then there was like one branded, and I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, no, it was basically all fire. Like it was all fire or pure snake eyes. So it was definitely a good meta call for designing a deck that is meant to go against the meta, and it did work out, and certain cards just really highlighted in the deck just because of like how weak the link board was to them. As crazy as that is, like you can put up a full link board, it still lose to a Storming Mirror Force like real quick. Like your whole. Yeah, you spend like 20 minutes making your combo. You just attack into the Storming. It's all
just
gone.
To put it right back in your deck. Yeah.
Then
that
that gives us
Michael.
That was the best. Like there was one of our matches where we both did it. Johnny storming, I think it was like for 4 links, and I think I stormed for 3 or 4. And then our boards ended up being like 4 floods with 2 Moonmere shields up, and it was like, I don't think you're gonna win at this point. So
yeah, now you guys are drawing twice, summoning twice. You know what I'm saying? That's crazy. Yeah, the advantage can get crazy, especially with that. Did you guys have an idea as far as, because most people I would say who play don't go to 3v3s very often or don't understand like the full capacity of like having 3 players with you. So for those who don't know, when you go to a 3v3, there's a player A, a player B, and a player C, and there's a very, very particular way that you guys want to order yourselves, because there are some stipulations as far as communication. Although it's all open communication, you have to speak very loud and clear with anyone who's speaking. Only player A can speak with player B, and only player C can speak with player B. So basically player B can talk to everyone, but player A and player C cannot communicate nor action towards each other or communicate in any way, shape, or form, physically or verbally. They can only communicate with B, who has to relay all the information. So not only are you playing your game, but you, especially the B player, has to play their game as well as know what their opponent's playing against, what their opponent's stats are, what your teammate has, what lines they may have ability. So it's a lot that can be overwhelming. And so I just am curious if the player B slot Asian was chosen by you, or kind of like appointed towards you
Oh
as someone
yeah,
who
no,
just
I chose it
knows
for
more.
sure. I chose it for sure because me and Michael's deck were actually just similar, and usually they put the best player in B. So I
Yes.
want to go against that best player because I probably had the most experience going against just like people in general because I've been in this game for so long. I wouldn't consider
Mm.
myself pro, but I have experience, so I'm not like nervous. I'm ready. I'm ready to play my hand with what I got. Like I'm ready to play, and then the communication's awesome about the team YCS. So like obviously, like you said, you can talk to each other during the match, ask for tips. Like Michael was asking me for siding pattern things, and I was like pointing at which cards he should side out and put in, and like that just it like helps you feel even more confident into that next game, just because you know you had like another person's like input into that decision, so you just feel confident into what's about to happen that next game. Uh, so it's, and then also if you're in a really tight spot, like in a weird spot where like you're in a weird game state, if I make a misplay, I'm gonna lose for sure. So then it's nice to just be like, hey, do you think I should do this or should I wait? Like just questions like that. It helped comfort you in playing, and then knowing that you got your boy over to the side that can help whenever he needs.
Mm.
Shout out to also Oscar. And when he asked me if should I do this, I was like, I don't know what Yugioh does. Thank God you're on my team. Uh, I just it's pretty funny because Oscar's deck. I actually really didn't know a lot about that deck. So whenever he was asking me for input, it was more so technical play wise, not actual like what
Yeah,
Yugioh cards
exactly.
do. So that can show you like you can actually just throw a team together randomly, and you could do good. You just never know. But the cool thing about the Whites is that you get to be with the boys and then confirm your
Mm.
plays and make sure everything's right. More confirmation just makes more confidence, makes you play better. So
And then some over you. Do you feel as though like you were in the A slot, you were more leaning towards communicating more with Asian, or did you feel as though you had a majority of your games, you kind of understood the game plan, and you knew your
we
lines
all
of
knew the
play,
game plan in
obviously?
general.
So yeah,
Yeah,
so
no, it was basically like, since we were playing the same deck, like we knew, and I mean, again, the deck is very simple to play once you get things going. But once, when the game, if you're not really snowballing with Morganite, like you just have to know how to hold, your traps. And that was the things I would ask Johnny is, should I, I wasn't sure if something was really a threat or not, in certain situations. It was knowing if something was a threat. And then sometimes they would kind of set it up for you where they'd walk into something where it could be as simple as they're trying to get over our floodgate monster. We may not have decisive battle on the board, but we have a punishment, and you could be as simple as punishing the monster, and then just deciding what you send. Because our extra deck, like if you saw the profile, there is utility behind the extra deck. The extra deck does have a purpose. Like even though we were playing prosperity, there was like a certain 6 cards that we would banish when we were going first. Like there were certain ones that we didn't need because we had multiple copies, but there were certain lines of play with like Nadir or with punishment that actually mattered, because like sending Titaniclad and then in the end phase getting Ecclesia to hand, or even if we, it could be as weird as if we don't have a floodgate out, we could actually special the Ecclesia and get a punishment in end phase. Like there was just little things like that were just things to double check. And then like Johnny said, like the siding patterns, because the deck obviously is a lot different than a meta deck. Like, we're not playing hand traps outside of Shifter. And then we're kind of just like looking for ways to like, okay, obviously they're going to make us go second. Making us go first is just not.
That's
Yeah.
way to die.
Yeah. I mean, if you tell us to go first and we open a floodgate monster and protect it, I mean, you basically kind of played yourself. Like if you don't have, imperm or multiple imperms. And I mean, we prepared for that. So it was really just knowing, okay, we side this for going second, and this is kind of the game plan to simplify the board state, get our floodgate monster back out, protect it, and just keep going from there. So being in slot A, I mean, I've been in slot A before. I think I've even been in slot C before because we've teamed together in multiple 3v3s. So usually Johnny's in the middle, so it always was just kind of it's just kind of how we've established things, and it just being able to communicate, him being able to communicate with either of us just makes it for better, because he definitely has a lot more playing experience. I would say definitely more than myself, and then probably even more than Oscar, just because he does play a lot more. But not knowing Oscar's deck, it didn't really matter. It was like Yubel was such an under the radar deck, even though it did, topple. I believe it's already topped 1 regional, maybe it's topped a couple more, but I think players are still trying to figure it out. And then new support gets announced, so people still fully don't understand what the deck does. So
Yeah.
it was definitely a good meta call on Oscar's part, and then just again checking with Johnny on technical plays just to make sure things went the way we wanted them. So I think it all came
Yeah.
together nicely.
Do you ever see yourself being in that B slot, maybe like commandeering the team and like not commandeering, but like taking the reins and being the leader, maybe taking a captain slot and then like bringing your own team into fruition and executing it that way and putting the reins on your shoulders?
I mean, it really depends. I mean, I know for the
I
most
never
part,
felt pressure.
yeah, me and Johnny, I mean, I'll probably always team together. So it's really just a matter of, it depends on the format. Like if there's a format I feel I know a lot better, but I haven't because personally I haven't been really paying super attention to the meta. Like I know what was going on, I knew what to expect, but I couldn't pick up the fire deck and learn it because all these players who did really well with it were playing with it 2 to 3 months before the cards were even announced. So I had to play something that was something that was simple and something that was effective,
User friendly.
yeah, basically user friendly. Even though it's most people would be like it's just anti meta, but I mean it's very easy to play, and I mean it can still go be on the same par as like the tier 1 decks because you can actually counter the tier 1 decks. So it worked out. But yeah, no, like if there's like a format where I know it, like probably back in toss format, if there was a 3v3, that probably was like could have been somewhere where I would have been B slot just because I played Thunder so much. I knew the 4 matchups so well. But again, I think it would be format dependent, like if I knew enough, but it wouldn't be something I'd be opposed.
That's fair. I think it's very, very important for players, and that's why I'm kind of like curious to see how your thoughts were as far as like your positionings that, or even not even as players, as Yu-Gi-Oh players, but as people in life that they understand that what their role is and how to do it. And I don't mean that derogatorily for people who are listening. I mean it in like the most sincere way I possibly can, with ego taken out of it. You need to know your role. I feel like when you have people who are, I would say, captains or in leadership roles like player B on teams, and people who are in the supportive character role like players A and C. Not to say that there's a dynamic that needs to change, but there's also, I would say, a mentality that needs to be there for both of those players. If I'm supposed to be the team B leader and I don't know what the meta does, how can I be responsible for being in control of 3 games at once? If I'm trying to be the player A, but I'm the best knowledgeable person, there's no reason for me to be playing all these games on CA and not being able to help with seat C if I'm the best C4. So it really comes down to people that take a look at themselves, do some self-analyzing, be real with themselves, and make a judgment call. And I feel as though like most people need to do more of that. And when you have a team in proper unison, you have a team in synergy within that, of knowing that, hey, I may not be the best at this, or knowing where to hand trap, but I'm really good at technical play, or I may not know where to use my technical play. I might stumble through a line or two, but my deck building skills are crazy and I can make crazy call outs. All right, well, my deck building is not that good, but I can pick up a net deck and I can make communication calls. This person's got hand traps, this person's got board breakers, this is what I'm seeing post side. I just got hit with this. You know what I'm saying? I'm very, very, verbal or vocal, however you want to put it. There's very diverse ways that you can go about putting it, and it all stems down to everyone knowing their place and knowing where they should be and what their strengths and weaknesses are. And kudos to you guys for finding it too. Even showing that people that even like you guys who are older and maybe not be considered, I would say, the upscale, high end players can, with some game knowledge and some experience under their belt, go up there and shake the chains up a little bit and say, hey, I'm here to be respected. And there's a reason why I've been here for 10 plus years. And I'm going to make sure that you guys are knowing me for another 10 plus years, So it's kudos to you guys. You don't see a lot of guys who are very, very open or honest themselves like that and take that general look inside. So.
Heck yeah, appreciate that.
And then I guess right before we close out and go to the last segment before we close out this episode, I just want your thoughts, both of you guys, will start with Asian too, on the metagame as of now. Where do you guys think it will progress towards in the future? Do you guys think it's okay now? Are you hating it, this tier meta? Is this one of the better tier metas that you've been in? Maybe the worst one? I know you guys chose to reject meta and play anti-stun, but is there like a... I mean, obviously, this is not deep rooted in a hate for the meta. I would assume it's just for just making a good meta call. So, what do you guys feel as though we're going to be headed towards over these next couple months leading into the national season?
So I like to play rogue decks, right? like I'm known for that. Like I'm a Cosmo guy. I like anti-meta. I like things that aren't meta. I like to play in the meta with not meta. That's just what I've always done and what I've been known for. The only thing I don't enjoy about the game at the moment with the meta is that these cards are actually just getting way too powerful. Like one card should not be able to end on like a giant board with like 3 negates. Like bro, like my deck don't do that. You know, my fun decks struggle to keep up with like these tier 0 decks that have crazy cards because power creep in the game is real. Uh, Obviously you can see things like malicious, right? Like card didn't look that good. Like it was okay back in the day, like in Teledad. But if you look at it now, it's a link material card. The card's crazy. It can get sent on all these links, all these Xyz monsters like Beatrice. Like there's so many ways to access the cards that weren't good before, right?
Mm.
So there's one thing I want to nitpick about like actual Yu-Gi-Oh. It's that we don't get Forbidden and Limited list at a certain time anymore. That's like the most frustrating thing for being a rogue player that doesn't play meta, because you know you're just kind of just stuck in Konami's hands and how they want to decide on the ban list and when they want to release the ban list.
Correct.
That's the biggest problem I feel with the game. But other than that, I do enjoy this tier 0 format over tier limit tier 0 format. Tier limit tier
Yeah.
0 format was way different because they get to mill your deck and know your deck. They don't know my deck in Snake Eye format. The problem was the shufflers and the millers. Those cards made their deck just infinitely better if you weren't playing any kind of like mill dot deck that needed to get value off of the mills that they made happen. But I do like the Fire King Snake Eye meta we have right now, just because I am able to innovate because of things without like the shufflers. So that's probably the biggest thing. But definitely power creep in the game. It's going towards a direction to where I don't know what they can come up with after links because links are crazy.
Yeah, big facts. We're summoning
Yeah,
shit
so,
out the
like-
deck now. Fuck it.
Yeah, so like they've gone so far to the point where now we're summoning monsters out of our extra without poly, synchroing with tuners. We're not doing any of that no more. Now it's just like summon monsters, put them in the grave, summon more monsters. Like I don't
Everything's turbo.
enjoy that part of the game. I think they do need to kind of power creep the game a little bit and slow it down because it's kind of getting ridiculous. When I have to literally go, when I'm going second and they say they have 20 something hand traps in their deck, that's ridiculous, man. Like come on. I never got hand trapped back in the day. Look how I turned out. You know, come on, man. Like these hand traps are crazy. Like it changes the game to where actually going first sometimes is actually a big disadvantage. Because if they do stop you with the hand traps that they draw, you're just getting cooked. Because obviously a tier 0 deck is gonna draw one of their 1 card starters, and then you're either dying that turn or you're not beating their board state after that.
Yeah. No, I can agree with that wholeheartedly. Especially with you guys being first-hand experienced with all of that. What about you, Slim?
Yeah, no, like kind of pretty much the same thing. Like I'm glad Johnny brought up tier format because it really like we've played, of course, Johnny especially is known for playing Lightsworn. Like people will know, we're known also as the Minerva brothers since we both have our price card Minervas to this day. And we played that deck, back in the day. What was it like 2016, 2015, whatever year it was. And that was like a mill deck, but that was a mill deck that did cool things, and I was milling my stuff. He was milling his stuff. The opponent's stuff didn't matter. We still didn't know what our opponent's deck was. The fact that in tier format, pretty much your strategy was given away immediately. It just really, it was a little hard to play through that format. I mean, we've played in pretty much every format. Outside of myself, I just miss Necros format, but outside of that, we've played in every format, and you can really see the power creep. I mean, you can see like how ridiculous, like 1 card starter can just end on a board of just so many negates. It can just do so many things. Whereas, it used to be back in the day, a normal summon, as crazy as it is.
A normal summon mattered.
Yeah. Like even looking back, like, even to one of my favorite formats when it was triangle format, normal summon rescue rabbit. Yeah. It back then was pretty crazy. But you look at what it did, it turned into 2 vanilla dinosaurs that then turned into a single negate. Like that was pretty much it. And then your back row would maybe keep you around, or at the time we only had, I think it was Maxi and Valor, so there was no other hand traps. Like Valor would either negate, Maxi might go off and you might draw a couple cards. It was and Maxi, of course, is still absolutely insane, but it was the simplicity of those were the hand traps you knew were in the format. There's so many hand traps now, you don't know what you're going to get hit with. Like, you really could see, especially, in the finals, I know you brought it up multiple times, with Hani and Pac, like, just how many hand traps can you fire
6
at
in a
one
row?
player? Yeah, it was like
Crazy.
six
Yeah.
hand traps in a row. Because we were actually recording when the finals were going on. We were doing the deck profiles, so we actually did not get to see the match until later at night when we came back to the apartment and we're watching it. To actually see 6 hand traps fire at each other in like rapid speed was just absolutely crazy.
And he still had
know,
a board too, man. That nigga still
Yeah.
had a board. Pac
Yeah.
was cooking. He was cooking.
He was cooking,
still had a
bro.
board
6
through,
hand traps,
through
no
6 hand
problem.
traps. That man still had monsters on the field and some sort of
Yeah.
presence. That's insane.
Yeah, so I mean, it really shows like how the game has changed, and I mean, I would hope it would like there would be a way to like slow it down just a little bit. Like the fact that you're playing what is it like 15 to 18 hand traps? That's almost 50% of your deck is hand traps. Like that's just so crazy to me. Like compared to how the game used to be. So I mean, it is different. I mean, but like I always say, I've said it before, on your podcast, other podcasts in general, is that since we've been around so long, we just find ways to we're definitely two players that aren't going to sit here and complain, because at the end of the day, we'll get a ban list when we get it. They'll release things as they want to release them. You find a way to adapt, and if there's anything I can say about our deck, that's kind of what the deck defines. Is Johnny found a way to adapt into this crazy tier 0, $1,000+ deck format with a strategy that is, if you even see the written feature match, you'll even see they mentioned it a little bit, a strategy. I think they even said a strategy a lot of people forgot, or that a strategy that people, kind of don't acknowledge anymore. Some old school strategies can come back and actually, just kind of, you can breathe new life into them, even if they are, I guess, in most players' eyes, degenerate. A lot of people were actually impressed that we were playing a deck like that, because we're going against the grain. Like, we're not playing Bonfire, we're not playing Snake Eyes Ash, we're not playing actual hand traps outside of Shifter. We're just playing cards from like 2011 or whatever.
We're changing the game. We're going back to not link summoning.
Yeah. Because we do have it's funny, if you look at our extra deck, we have fusions. I think we had a synchro.
Synchros
We had a link in
and link.
there. So we had like, we only had one link monster, but the majority was fusion. And being OGs, anyone remembers, we used to just have a fusion deck before it was even called the
Alistair,
extra
baby.
deck.
Yep.
So
Yep.
and then when we played Alistair and Friends, it was a fusion deck again. So it really is interesting to see how far the game has came. And I mean, it's not gonna be perfect, but I mean, at the end of the day, kind of adapt. But I do agree that I hope that there will come a time where it does kind of slow down a little bit, just to make it a little more. It is very interactive, but a lot of the the interactions have gotten to the point of just pure insanity, whether it's on the board or in the hand. Like, it just feels like they just go on, they kind of just go on forever. But
Yeah, we can
I
calm
mean,
doan with the disruption for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
Come on, can we just play the game, man?
Exactly. I do
Big
stay
facts.
pretty optimistic with it, though. I mean, regardless, we'll still play the formats. It's just whether we'll choose to, play the meta deck or go against the grain, which is the majority of the time what we do. I honestly can't remember myself the last time I played like a tier 1 deck. I would honestly say it was probably in toss format when I played Thunder, and then since that I never really did. So it's just, you find ways to to play through the formats and just kind of crack the code. Be like, okay, it may be a tier 0 deck, but we can find ways to kind of crack the armor. Like, we'll find the flaws in the deck, or we can exploit something like something as simple as a Fossil Dyna that literally cuts off pretty much what the deck wants to do, and then you back it up with protection. You can find success with that as well.
No, 100%. I definitely agree. Like, I feel like, although the game is a little bit fast, we're ending games basically on turn 2 now. You get your first turn. If not, you gotta. Did you crack my board? Oh, well, no. Well, it looks like you've got insurmountable advantage, and I guess I should go to a game where I can get my own advantage. I think that slowing down the game would be cool, but I do think that they are progressing in a way where we have decks that can compete as strong as ones like from formats from past. Like, we had a tier 0 format with tier elements. We have, instead of taking a year and a half to print another deck like Snake Eyes in its entirety and its full power, we should be making more decks like this to either quote unquote slow it down so that everyone's on the same pace, or make less far and away. All right, this deck is like super crazy good compared to everything else in the room. We should probably either reconstruct the way that we're making these cards, or take a look at maybe what some future card design and what we can do to improve other decks to a way where they can actually step forward and compete. Because I don't think it's the fact that we're making the meta too fast. I think it's we're making specific decks too fast, and now nothing else can keep up because they've already been printed. They've already seen their time in the meta starlight or spotlight or whatever. So it really does come down to Konami keeping up with itself as far as making strong decks maybe 2 or 3 times a year instead of just once every other year, in my opinion. But before we close out today, we have just one more final segment for you guys tonight. It is the listeners' favorites. I don't know why it is. We do a couple other different segments, and for some reason, this is your guys' favorite. I don't get it. But we have the People's Choice questions. So for those who don't know, the People's Choice Qs are, for some new listeners who have never heard this, is a segment on our Discord and our group chats as well, where we ask you guys, the people, to give us questions to give to our guests to answer, and whether they be funny ones, maybe not so funniest ones, maybe more serious ones, Yu-Gi-Oh related, not Yu-Gi-Oh related, doesn't matter. You ask it and we pass it along. So we're going to get into that today. I think we've got 3 of the questions today. Looks like we have People's Choice here. We have our mod and Discord mod Trent over here, so shout out to him asking a question. He goes, what decks do you think overperformed and underperformed at this YCS?
Oh man, overperformed. I mean, obviously the deck that won, Snake Eyes. That's the best deck. Actually, I think I told Michael this. There's a dude that played Infernoid FTK that got 17th place. That was kind of spicy. Shout out to that guy for playing Rogue. Yeah, Bish Balkan 10K kind of nice.
Bish can do shit. Yeah.
Yeah, the guy said in the profile that card should be banned because it has ill intentions for anyone who summons it. I ain't mad about it. That's true. Obviously I like our deck choice. It was amazing, honestly. I wish, man, I almost didn't want to leak the goo, but I had to. I was like, I kind of want to hold this for another YCS, but there's so many people watching me, they kind of just figured it out, and I was like, I guess I had to post a list. So I definitely think our deck was actually one of the sleeper decks for sure.
And what about you, son?
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously Fire overperformed as it was supposed to. Like, I mean, everyone pretty much knew. I think it was interesting to see that, Voiceless Voice made it too, because I think a lot of people, I don't want to say they underestimated it, but I think, what I heard even from the players that we profiled is that, they're getting more support, coming out soon. So like the deck is going to do more, and it's definitely a deck that is already like establishing itself. But I believe it was in the top 16 cut. I believe there were 5 Voiceless Voice players, if I remember correctly. So
3 and 2 random ones.
Yeah. So even though it wasn't, a huge conversion, it was still interesting that, almost a third of the, at least, 5 decks were at least something besides Fire, related decks. I thought that was cool. And then knowing that, there was still one lone rescue ace, I thought that was very cool. And, we profiled him, so shout out to him. That was really cool. Like, still, set 4 is still pretty damn good. And, that was cool to see. It is a Fire deck, but it's kind of like the original Fire deck compared to what it is now. So
yeah,
that was cool. And then, of course, seeing one Flunder, as well, shout out to Jared. Like, that was just cool. Like, because I think a lot of people forget, like, yeah, it's a shifter deck, but people forget that, Chainlink 1, Chainlink 2, the birds are gonna fly. And I mean, N-Pen is still a hell of a card. Back it up with the Feather Storm that literally just skips your turn. Like, it's pretty much just over at that point. So I think it was cool to at least see something besides an all Fire. Everyone thought, all the decks at top are going to be Fire. So it was cool to see that at least they weren't all that. And then, like Johnny said, it was cool that, I think our deck, even though we didn't, top the event, a lot of people, there was a lot of buzz behind it. And, being on stage, having the written feature, people are going to know, Johnny put out the profile, like, people are going to know about it. So it at least, it at least shows that, the deck can still get some, buzz, something besides the Fire format. So. Yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on it. I think it was interesting to see something besides Fire, doing well at the event.
Yeah, PSA moment. I'm sorry for everyone. I let out the cancer. So if they terrorize your locals, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Unfortunately, not everyone's locals is as tolerant as to the fuckery as your guys' local is. So you might have just unleashed something.
No, if you're DB grinding, my bad. You're running into the wrong guy.
Definitely. Yeah, and I'll put a quick shout out also to my locals here in Vegas because especially my boy Alex and Harrison, because they really came together to find me all these old cards. So the thing I forgot to mention was that, of course, I had some of these cards like Nadir and punishments, but I'll be honest with you, I don't remember the last time. I think the last time I sided Fossil Dyna was when we were playing Mech Knight Invoked, because it was like a OTK, it was like a FTK by itself against that deck. But I haven't played Dyna, I haven't played Jowgen, Dyna, any of those cards in years, and then of course finding Decisive Battle. So shout out to them for pulling together to find me all this stuff. I would show them my list of cards, and you show it to most people, they just roll their eyes or like, what on earth are you looking for? What are you on? And yeah, like literally that's what I tell them. Like, oh, I was like, I just called it the Abomination, and I mean, luckily everyone, they all came together to help me get the cards. So I just wanted to shout them out because that's a not only is it providing cards for someone, but also just, being cool enough to, give me cards that literally say you can't play. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, to put that shit into the ether for sure.
Yeah, they were not happy.
We also have another question coming from Jahan, and it looks like he says, if you were a rubber duck, what novelty outfit would you be wearing?
A rubber duck. Damn. A sailor suit.
Oh, you're gonna go classic over there.
I'm classic, baby.
Oh God, yes. And I'm about to chime in because for people who don't know, Donald Duck is my spirit animal. So literally, there is no other answer except that if I was a rubber duck, I would be Donald Duck, and I would be rocking everything that Donald Duck wears. I'd probably even go a step further and be Devil Duck, because Devil Duck is the best form, or Darkwing Duck, or whatever. Whatever form of Donald Duck there is, that's the one for me. So. Yeah, that would definitely be it. It would be whatever. It would definitely just be, I would just automatically be Donald Duck and probably be Devil Duck for good measure.
And then our last question we have comes from Colt Gaming, who asks, hey, Johnny, do you remember signing my binder back in 2018? And if for those who are listening and don't have any way to see it, you can go to our People's Choice Questions and see it.
It was the Ultra Pro one?
Ultra Pro.
Yeah, I signed a couple binders in my life, but I remember that one specifically.
You want to tell us a little bit of a backstory for it before we close out?
What do I remember from that? Man, I'm old. I remember signing the binders, but boy, oh boy, I do remember a white Ultra Pro binder specifically when I think about a binder. So if that one's his, that's hilarious.
That's the one. Yep, it's in our Discord for those who would like to check it out. You can go to our People's Choice Question section, and you can go click on that. You'll see the picture of the said binder in question. You can notice that it does have Asian Persuasion straight across the front of it. Asian Persuasion 2008, actually. It's not even the 08. It's before you went 08. It's now 2008.
Yes, sir.
So definitely be sure to check out that in our Discord server. You guys can go and click the Linktree link down below to go have access to that and check it out for yourself. But as you guys are probably aware, we are running all out of life points. We are coming close to the end. I just wanted to thank one more time our guests for coming out here, spending an hour of their time, especially during the time where they're supposed to be celebrating Slim's marriage, for having time for us and talking about Yu-Gi-Oh, chit-chat and whatnot. I do appreciate you guys for coming out here and showing love to the podcast as well as to the player base as well. Is there anything that you guys wanted to talk about or bring it up? Any final thoughts about the show or anything like that before we close out today?
No, man, just appreciate you having us on here. It was a good time, man. Got to, release some of our goo out here for us players. Yeah, you guys are welcome for helping you guys create a different breed now you guys are grinding.
Yeah, right. And now we're going to have you be another regular on here, right?
Hey, we can do it. Let's do it.
All right, you guys have it here. You guys heard it on record. He said he's going to come back. And how about for you, Slim? Any shout outs or anything like that you want to give out before we close on out of here?
Oh, yeah, of course. Shout out to you, Player X, and of course, the podcast and everyone that, just I love being on podcasts. I love, especially, sharing knowledge and stuff. But, shout out to my brother here, of course, because being able to have him here with me is, of course, just a great thing. Like, the YCS was literally just kind of like a bonus for us. So it was just the fact that, everything just kind of came together. And I mean, we didn't really know what to expect going into the YCS. So the fact that we got to be on the big stage, got to have some features, it was just really surreal. And being able to play against the caliber of players we got to play against, I think was really cool too. Because one thing I'll always say, I know Johnny's mentioned it, like playing against players that have credentials, players that really are good at the game, like it's just a surreal feeling, especially if you look up to them. Like I looked up to Paulo, and being able to chat with him, like one-on-one, and being able to play him, it was just a surreal moment. So things like that, like you always remember. Like we have a lot of great memories in the game, and this is just something to kind of just add to the roster of memories, is like being able to do that, especially being able to do it, basically with your family and, one of our close friends. So it's just a really, really cool thing. But yeah, shout out to you for, of course, always having us on. And, like I said, being the first ever to get Johnny on a podcast. That's not an easy thing.
It is
That's
not
not an easy thing to do. So yeah, we can definitely put that on record. You're the first to get it done. So
That's right. You guys heard it here. Semi-limited podcast out here breaking records over here for you guys. So you want to tell the people where they can reach you at real quick?
YouTube, I guess. That's the only place I'm always at. Asian Persuasion 2008 on YouTube.
Yeah, and Slim Yugioh on YouTube. And yeah, like a last shout out, I know, just for both of us, is honestly just to the whole community, because they've been rocking with us for, my God, so many years. I mean, I lost track at this point. Like it's at least, '08. Do the math. I came in in about 2010, 2011. So do the math. It's been a long time. And I would say 99.9% of it has been, damn near 100% of it has damn near been positive. So we really do appreciate the community just in general, just just rocking with us, supporting us, even with our crazy ideas, off the wall.
They love my crazy ideas,
yeah,
Michael.
Yeah, they do, and they just, they've always just, they really make the game what it is. Like why we keep, why we're still here all these years later, still traveling, here and there, and still, still members of the society, still members of the community and everything. So it's really cool. So just shout out to the whole community for being cool and for still rocking with us all these years later.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for you guys for coming on. This is going to be dropping on Friday for you guys, because we will be going to the OTS Championship out in Millennium Games in Rochester, New York on Saturday, the 2nd of March. So we'll be out there talking to you guys, shooting for content, making sure that we're competing and whatever like that, because we're trying to get that playmat and such. But we will be back with the game time report for that tournament on on Tuesday the following week, because I'll be recording Monday for you guys. But with that being said, I appreciate you guys all for tuning in and listening to us and showing love to not only myself and the podcast, but to also Slim Yugioh and Asian Persuasion 2008. Thank you guys so much for your time. I am Player X, and you've been listening to the Semi-Limited Podcast. Thank you, and good night.